I think that if you think as a consumer, I need 22
Yeah.
check-ins.
Mm-hmm.
I need it to be Google calendared, and we're not Google calendaring our clients. And so how many reminders do you need? Does it feel like that's it, when it's a value being provided to your clients, it doesn't come across as salesy. It doesn't come across as nagging, etc. So don't consider it that way. I definitely think that mapping out when and how, as that timer kind of leads up to the event, when and how are you checking in with them? How are you reminding them gently that that invitation has come?
Hey guys, welcome back to Real Estateable, your go-to podcast for raw, real, and relevant information in the real estate world. I'm Ashley and I'm here with Tiffany, and we are going to talk about client appreciation events today.
This makes me so excited. I love getting to love on our sphere of influence, those people that have poured back into us. This is a really great way for you to pour back into them. And when we talk about this, we're talking specifically your clients, people who have showed interest in doing future business with you, have referred people to you, have closed in the past. It's any of those people that directly are related to the success of your business. Very, very exciting.
Yes, and if you need help keeping track of people that need to be invited or not need to be invited, you can still download our spreadsheet at realestateable.com/spreadsheet.
Yes. All right. So let's jump into it and let's talk about partying with a purpose. All right. So let's dive in about client appreciation events, continuing on our series of building client relationships. I think all of this kind of intertwines together. But the first thing I want to kind of establish is the fact that, yes, we're doing this with a team. Right now, we have 6 actively working agents. So obviously, when we're talking about an SOI that's interconnected with 6 agents, with myself as a team leader that's been in business, over 15 years, our client base is probably different than what you're looking at. And so when you think about doing a client appreciation event, and think about, we're going to talk some big events that we've done. And when you're thinking of this as an individual agent or even a team that's just starting off and getting a base, I think that can seem super overwhelming that you don't have enough people to invite, because this is different than community events, right? Where
Yes.
we're going to talk different about an open-ended invitation. This is specifically about loving on those people that have showed prior commitment to investing in your business. So with that, what is one of the key ways to do this, Ashley? If you're thinking, okay, I have 10 people I can invite, I
Yeah.
have 100 people I can invite, really. If it's a small amount, what would you say would be a suggestion that you could do if that was you as an agent?
So if I don't feel like I have enough clients, I might partner with an agent at my office.
Mm-hmm.
You guys don't have to be on the same team. You just kind of have to have the same vision. So if you find someone in your office that wants to love on their clients too, you guys can kind of split the event, get your own sponsors and things like that to where you're having a low cost event, and on social anyway, it will look like you have more people because you're using
Mm-hmm.
other people in the office as buyers and sellers.
Well, I think there's been plenty of times too that our agents, and even especially new agents starting on team, where technically speaking, they don't have people who are showing up,
Yeah.
or they have low numbers of people who are showing up. So partnering with someone does not put the spotlight just on you,
Mm-hmm.
and that could be several people. And it doesn't mean that you have to be jointly marketing. Each of you guys can individually be like, hey, there's a this event that's happening, sponsored by X, Y, and Z affiliates that you've partnered with, but hosted by yourself. You don't have to worry about it kind of intertwining with that. So I think that agents in your office, it could be 1, 2, 3, 5 agents. I agree with what Ashley said. It has to be someone who shares your vision, that you work well and is really going to pour in and pour out the same amount.
Yeah. I was going to say the same thing where you don't want to have to do all the legwork.
Yeah.
The whole point of partnering is to share the responsibility. So make sure you have someone that's going to be committed to the event, committed to helping and planning
and really the invitation part of that, because
yeah.
honestly, I feel like more than half of the work happens in the success of an event just by the invitation process. So it can't be a set it and forget it. And this should be used as a touch follow-up system. I believe we probably have the opportunity to touch our um our spreadsheet of people that are being invited at least 10 times
Mhm.
before, during, and after the event. So making sure that someone, shares in that commonality of wanting this to be successful as well.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
So the people that you're going to be inviting, you're going to go back to your spreadsheet, and like we've said before, they're all color coded. So I know at a quick glance of my clients who's in town, who lives out of town. Everybody's getting invited regardless. But I can know that, hey, these people probably aren't going to come because they live in Alaska. Um, so I'm inviting past clients, SOI, who has possibly like referred people to me or is going to do business with me in the future.
Yeah, it would be in this case, especially because a lot of these things you're going to be paying per number of people, so you want to make sure that this is specific to your
Hmm.
business. They can be, broadly invited to client appreciate or a community event
Hmm.
over client appreciation. Another thought is that as you're starting to use your spreadsheet to organize your contacts, this is a really, really good way for you to be thinking logistically through this. It's like, okay, it's not just Popeye delivery. It's not just categorizing for mail outs, etc. This is really like who would actually sit and be at these events with me.
Hmm. And if you're just starting out and maybe you haven't had a closing, but you've helped 5 renters,
Oh
have
gosh,
those 5 renters come.
absolutely. Absolutely. I 100%. If it has been anything to do with real estate conversation, that should be someone that's included for sure. Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about in the planning process, we always rely heavily on sponsors because we're not trying to spend a whole lot of money out of pocket because we have other expenses and but we still want to love on our clients. So we're trying to find sponsors who might help. So you might partner with a lender, you might partner with an insurance
Mm-hmm.
company, a title company, pest inspection. I mean, there's so many options. If you're sending someone business, they should be willing to pour back into yours.
And also, if you look at an event and you're like, okay, I think this is a rough budget of $1,000 and I'm splitting this between two people. So $500 responsibility between two people. Don't be afraid to get $10, $50 sponsors. Don't be afraid to get, $350 sponsors. Don't make it where it's so overwhelming, especially if you're doing these several times over the year. Don't count on the same exact people over and over
Hmm.
again. And then I wouldn't be super heavy in what you're expecting from them, especially now when we're rolling into business not being as plentiful as it was in years past. That speaks for us. That speaks for really anybody that's in our industry. So think about quantity of people versus a smaller amount with larger numbers. That'd be one way to make it not so overwhelming. You're not going and saying, hey, I need $500. You're asking for 50 times 10
Hmm.
type scenario. So just be thinking of it that way. You can also tier out the way that you do sponsorships. We've had a big event we're going to talk about today, and it was several thousands of dollars. And so we're like, you could be a gold, silver, or bronze sponsor. And there's different ways and different publicity that could happen based off of that. But the sponsorship thing, I know for me, for years, it was like, it was more work for me to get the sponsor than for me to actually just pay the money.
Hmm.
And I think once you start to get into a rhythm of it, it's almost like an opportunity being presented, especially
Hmm.
because these contractors do not have, whether it's the banking side, whether it's the title closing side of things, inspectors, they're a one and done. So they really don't have a way to rub shoulders with these clients, for future business, maybe not from that client, but from a retention standpoint to say, hey, Mr. Smith, you've got to use ABC inspectors. He was amazing for me. They want to be rubbing shoulders with your people too, not just for consideration of them doing business again with your clients. It's a referral base for them too.
Yeah, and on social, you're going to be promoting this event, which means they're going to be promoted on social media, reaching all of your following. So it is a two-way street, with the sponsorship. You're not just saying, "Hey, give me money for this event," and that's it.
Hmm.
You and also instead of doing money donations or sponsorships, they can sponsor a giveaway or a gift card or something that you can still put their name out there, but maybe it's a smaller, like a $25 or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe not to pay for the event, but to pay for a giveaway.
And we try really heavily to make sure that giveaways are a part of this. So it's
Hmm.
not just the event that you're coming to, but it's the what else can you be taking away from that too. So how are you? So we talk about sponsors, and then they obviously will be part of the invitation marketing, et
Hmm.
cetera. So can you talk about a couple of different ways that of how we are letting our clients know about this? How are we inviting them to these events?
So, first and foremost, we create a Facebook group event, and then all of our clients get invited to that page. I know for me personally, when I get invited to events, a lot of times I forget or I'll miss them or I didn't check Facebook that day. So, we want to hit our clients with multiple emails, text messages, phone calls, not just rely on a one time, I sent you the invitation, are you coming kind of thing. So, first things first, Facebook event page. Second, that's going in our newsletter that goes out every single month. So they're seeing the event, um, and it's kind of like another nudge. We're also reaching out to them personally. So that could be a phone call or a text message. I recommend doing both at some point before the event. A lot of times I'll use BombBomb and record myself saying, "Hey, we're doing this event at the park on Saturday. Would love to see you. Hope you and the kids can come," kind of thing. And it's not so much personalized to each and every individual. I'm not saying, "Hey, Tiffany, I would love for you and Chris to come," and making 100 videos. I'm just making a general video like, "Hey, hope you can make it." That way I can send it out to more than one person.
Yeah. And I think that even like text messages leading up to the RSVP deadline, if
Hmm.
you're having them register ahead of time, just like, hey, one last reminder. I think that if you think as a consumer, I need 22
Yeah.
check-ins.
Hmm.
I need it to be Google calendared, and we're not Google calendaring our clients. And so how many reminders do you need? Does it feel like that's when it's a value being provided to your clients, it doesn't come across as salesy. It doesn't come across as nagging, etc. So don't consider it that way. I definitely think that mapping out when and how, as that timer kind of leads up to the event, when and how are you checking in with them? How are you reminding them gently
Hmm.
that that invitation has come? We also use a mailing system. So outside of electronic invitations, whether it's text messaging, email, newsletter, all of those things Ashlee just listed, we do like to get a postcard, an envelope, depending on the event. We've done where we've hand delivered events to a Santa event, one of our Santa events, we've hand delivered invites to the kids. Um, but a actual physical invitation will always be part of our invitation strategy. We have recently moved to doing a mailing system that takes our spreadsheets and does all of that for us. And I bet you we're saving about 50% by doing that.
Hmm.
We're saving 1000% of our time
Oh, yeah.
from not having to hand label and hand stamp all of these
Hmm.
cards, the cost and the logistics of all of that. But we use a company called the Personal Marketing Co. We use them for a lot of our follow up, for our postcard marketing, etc. But found that that was a really easy way for our spreadsheets to be uploaded, really high quality postcards that are going to be drop shipped within 24 hours of us ordering.
Hmm.
Logistically, that has seemed, as our numbers have grown, to keep the personal touch in that. I think there'll be times when we actually do the invitation with the envelope as
Yeah.
well. But in the more casual events, which we're going to talk about, I think that was more than legit in the way that we're more than legit in the way that we've sent invitations in the past for sure.
Yeah, and Personal Marketing Company, they have other postcards too. So, side note, if you guys are trying to just advertise yourself, they have templates that you can edit. You can create a template in Canva. So, multiple options, but it is an affordable way to market to the masses through their website.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so when we're talking about, we want to jump into themes and different things like that. When we're talking about this next kind of explosion of ideas,
Yeah.
let's first talk about how often are we hosting these?
I think that's going to be personal preference. on on yourself, on your budget, on your clients. So we try to do a client appreciation event once a quarter,
Yeah, 4 times a year.
4 times a year. But what it's overwhelming when you start, right? So if you
Mhm.
have an idea and you're like, we should host one here, we should do it here, we should do it here. Not every event are we recreating the wheel. So sometimes we do an event at the same place. We've used the same banners and same similar invitations, things like that to kind of keep it cohesive with our brand. But then also, we know exactly how to run it. We have our decorations in a bin in the basement. Like it makes it a little more streamlined if you can find a spot and reuse it.
Yeah, and I think that that has taken out the overwhelmingness of this. And I
Hmm.
think that when we first started this whole concept of, okay, we've got to pour back into our clients, twice a year was more than realistic in expectations and fitting this into our big marketing plan.
Hmm.
So start small. If you've not ever done it, and if you don't have a large team that is considering this, and you're having to partner with agents in your office, maybe twice a year is all that you can handle in the big picture of coordination with all of that. The other part of this is to remember this is just client appreciation events. So you have to fit in all the other touches, all the other pop buys, all the other marketing and community events. You have to also fit that into your schedule. So yeah, it can be definitely super overwhelming when you're not mapping out and planning for success versus planning failing to plan kind of thing.
Yes.
So um 2 to 4 times a year. We're right now on a 4 year for a year plan. And I feel like a lot of what is making it so easy is some of those things that are just rotational. So, okay, we had two and we had really good rhythm with those. Okay, let's add two more to them.
Hmm.
That tip that Ashley just said, not recreating it every single year. And I think our clients start to look forward to stuff like that too.
Yeah. And you can always find out what works and what doesn't. So if you do a client appreciation event at a park and, maybe you're like, I don't want to have to worry about the weather. Well, maybe next time you host a bowling event that's inside and it's not weather dependent.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's just figuring out what you like to do, what is important to you, what your clients might like. Um, and I think that's just nailing down those couple details will help you choose a place in your area.
Well, and I think too, we've tried different things over the years. And one of the most expensive events that we did was honestly the hardest to actually connect with our clients because we were in such a it's an
Mhm.
indoor amusement
Yeah.
place. It's a family fun place that has indoor mini golf, indoor go-karts, bowling, arcade, carousel, laser tag. Like it's a
Yeah.
huge location. And what we did was we set up in the bowling area because bowling was a 2 hour free event that people could plug into, but then they also had cards that they could use in the arcade on the other side of this huge arena type of a venue. And trying to connect, like I looked back at pictures from our photographer and I was like, didn't even see the Smith family.
Yeah.
Like I tried really hard, and even the conversations that I was able to have, it was such a loud location
Yeah.
that I was like, okay, raving fans from our clients, they were like, this is amazing. Pocketbook, not a raving fan. That
Yeah.
was not our budget, did not like that event. But really, the whole point and purpose of this is to make those connections. And I was like, epic fail. Like,
Yeah.
I was able to have quality conversations with like three people out of 300 options of, conversations versus the park. Like,
I completely missed a client and I
yeah.
was doing check-in.
Yeah, you're like,
Like I don't even
how
know
is
how
this
that
possible?
happened. I mean,
How's it possible?
there was a couple of us doing the check-in, but she's like, "Bye, it was good to see you." And I was like, "Wait, I didn't even get to talk to you
Mm-hmm.
because they were so spread out." I mean, they have I think 4 kids, so they were kind of chasing all over the place, but yeah, I completely missed a client. So it is important to analyze the space because if you're not going to be able to have like the conversations with your clients, there's really no point in doing it. If you're just going to be like, "Hey, go run free in this huge area."
You might as well just be handing out gift cards.
Yeah.
Honestly, and didn't think of it that way. Like we really were like, man, this is going to be awesome.
Mhm.
Social media blowing up. Like that was a huge event. No other real estate team in our area doing something like of that caliber. But I was like, but the whole point is to get your
Yeah.
clients in one place to have those conversations. So be mindful of that for sure. Just a side note as far as that goes. So
Yeah. So Tiffany loves a good theme. So a lot of our client appreciation events are themed. But if you're more like me, not so much of a planner and a party planner, um, keep it simple. Keep it with the seasons. Every time there's a season change, you can create a theme around a season.
yeah, and I think that like definitely a passion, a driving force of my why and a lot of stuff is a good theme. Is that such thing? Let me just write this up. My why is a good theme.
Okay,
A good time with a good theme.
side note, we had a meeting at which was at Tiffany's house, but then it got switched to mine, back to hers, then back to my house. And Tiffany came with a whole bag of like
Oh,
Hawaiian flowers and donuts and cups and just like she's like, we need this for social. I'm like, what? I didn't even clean
and
my
that
house.
that reel that reel really crushed it, and I didn't get her non-clean house. Just a side note, you can go to her Instagram, see that reel. It is pretty good performing reel
Yeah.
with a good theme.
So Tiffany will theme everything.
Literally.
Literally.
Literally everything. So I think that seasons is a really good if you're not like super passionate and heavily driven by a great theme. But one way to consider this is like, okay, you're going to be limited by the locations and options that you have. And we're going to start to talk through each of our events and where they were, what the theme was, and how we came to each of those ideas. But you're you're limited by locations. You're limited where you can host cost effectively. You're limited by those things. So start with that and then build from there. So an example would be, a cost effective thing that we've done almost, I feel like we're going on 5-6 years of um, popsicles in the park, an ice cream event that we had at the end of the summer for years running. That's one of the examples of Ashlee talking about the same theme over and over again, the same banners, the same invitations, the same everything. So when we looked at that, we were like, okay, we need a location that we can be gathered together with a ice cream truck that's able to be running a tab for us in a public location. All of that stuff worked itself out, pretty inexpensive. I think altogether, the rental of the park pavilion plus the actual ice cream truck, $500 to $600 depending on turnout. Super great. Okay, so coming up with a theme based off of that, I think you have to think about what supplies do you need, and then having a design for the invitation, for the banners, etc., based off of that. So for us, it was like we needed tablecloths. We maybe need some balloons. We might need some type of swag item. And so theming, we ended up going with a mint in a kind of like a bubblegum pink themed ice cream truck with a little dog was included in that. That all kind of steamed from, okay, the tablecloths that we were able to reuse for year after year, the pop-up ice cream truck that the kids could take pictures behind,
Mm-hmm.
the ice cream shaped tumblers that we were giving
Yeah, we
away.
randomly found these ice cream cone huge cups
Huge.
and we stuffed them with swag. An
And we
ice
used
cream
to
scoop.
use those year after year after year. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that you kind of work backwards. You got to figure out what don't take off on a theme and then be like, well, shoot, I have no parks, I have no ice cream trucks that will do this concept. Like it's not even possible. So start with your location first, for sure.
Yeah. And if you are struggling with a theme, go to Pinterest, go to
Mm,
Etsy, look up invites on Etsy, and you can find, if you even just type in like birthday invitations, you're going to find all kinds of themes that you would have never thought of. And you can just make it your own or maybe order on Etsy if you want.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I also think that Etsy is carrying more real estate related, pop by tags and things like that. That's becoming more of a trendy thing. So really you can find a lot of stuff on Etsy,
Mhm.
but Canva is also your friend too.
Yeah.
That's so user friendly. If you don't have an on staff designer or someone that you're contracting out for that. So let's roll through. We're going to talk January to December. We're going to list off different events that we had in, monthly order of what we've done. And then we're going to go back through and dissect what each of those events look like, how we came up with the theme, etc. So one of my favorite themes,
Oh, my favorite too, honestly.
honestly, Miss Elsa sitting next to me, and
Yeah.
we had an agent on our team at that time too that was the perfect Anna with the red long hair. So we had an outside ice skate rink downtown. It was a new thing, so
Mhm.
super there was such a buzz around that. But we rented that for 2 hours for a private event in January, right after the Christmas holiday.
Yeah, it was cold, but that is honestly one of my favorite events because it's so fun. Not I mean, I had to wear a costume, which whatever is super.
She loved it. She's trying to act like she's not. She's like, the best part was I was around all the kids.
Yeah, the kid. Well, it's just cute because all the kids actually think you're Elsa,
Hmm.
and it was just like it was super sweet. But I loved that one because people. I mean, reality is not everybody's a professional skater, so like people are falling down, and it's like you. I just realized you fell down.
No, I
Um,
took the whole team with me
yeah.
on that one.
But it's just a good way, like you're actively doing something, so you're not just like sitting around. It was a fun event.
It was closed and compact. They had to be in a rink, so it was like, you will talk to me as we're skating around in circles or
Yeah.
standing on the edge. So it was a close, quiet. That was the other thing too. You could hear light music playing, but
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
for sure.
So for that one, we had a lender sponsor hot chocolate,
Hmm.
and was serving the hot chocolate with some of their swag. We had some swag. We ordered silly pints, those like rubbery cups. Um, what else did we hand out? I know the reusable bag.
Yeah, so that year we did that. We did a big like snow themed giveaway with that too, with like different frozen stuff as well. But it was a silly pint. I think it was pretty small because those are not a costly
Mm-hmm.
or not a cost effective promo item, but clients love those. So I feel like it was just that, and then the hot cocoa bar for that year for sure. Because the first year we amplified that event, so we always try to add on. If we reuse the event, the first year it was like, hey, come and skate, and it was really just a get together. The second year we added the hot cocoa and the lender, and then added our swag tent as well, our giveaway for that too. We also try to make sure that when you're looking at these events that you have a photographer, because you want to be super involved with your clients, and unless you have somebody that's designated for social media and focusing on the actual collection of that content, that you're hiring someone for that for sure.
Yeah, and that can be as easy as a college student. Or I know around us, there's a lot of military wives who have photography businesses and they're willing to do um, cheaper shoots because they're just getting started.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
they're, do offer you a deal. Um, so yes, but I do think that having the photographer there is so important because then you have a bunch of content to share on your event.
Yeah.
And it looks good. It's not like blurry cell phone pictures, which
Well,
could be fine as well.
and I also think for years we were trying to capture that while also trying to interact with our clients. And so for me, that has brought back a lot of quality in the event where I'm not, worried about that as much. Definitely we still capture our own stuff because, us behind the camera, it's not where we're like pulling a photographer back and forth. But it's definitely less of a demand or less pressure to make sure you're getting, the right content through those events too. So ice skating, so sad story, our outside ice skate rink has gone away because we now have a huge inside arena that is partnered with the Preds, the Nashville Predators hockey team here in our community. So great traction for the arena that has been built, but we lost our cute little outdoor rink. So that event is tabled for this year. We did not do that for this
No,
year.
but that could easily be a roller skating
Yes.
theme.
Yep.
I mean, you could do like an 80s or 90s theme with that. And I mean, I love rollerblading and roller skating. So,
Yeah, we talked about that too when it was going away. We talked about that, but really, if you don't have an ice skate rink, if you, I mean, surely there's some type of indoor skating type of venue that's somewhere around that would be equally, as long as it's a private event. I would not consider doing something like that inside and only doing like a birthday party kind of section. I would make sure that it is shut down and focused for you and those that are hosting with you.
yeah. So, my favorite event this year was we have a little museum in our community, and they had like a Coca Cola themed room.
Yeah, a
And
party room that was Coca-Cola, like the 50s, 60s kind of theme.
yeah. And so the museum itself is awesome. It has a huge area in the downstairs that is like just dedicated to kids. It's got a grocery store and different like interactive things that they can do at the museum. I so I did feel that one was a little spaced out,
It was for sure. Yep.
but I didn't feel like I wasn't able to interact with people.
Yeah, we chose a slower day.
Mhm.
So for us, just by chance, they have a huge model train display that only runs on Sundays. And so just by default, we're like, okay, Sunday's the day because the trains were a big traction for a lot of even like the older crowd. Because
Mhm.
that's the other part too, is you're considering what are you doing? You don't only want to be catering to families, small kids, older couples, younger couples. Like you want to try to figure out something like ice skating is something anyone can enjoy. The museum, it had stuff for little kids, but it was also a ton of history about our town, a ton of art exhibits that
Mhm.
come in, the train exhibit. So I felt like birth to 80 years old,
Oh
love that
yeah.
day. Like that was, it hit a lot of different boxes for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so with that event, we had a room that we were going to use like a central base. It had a side entrance, so they were coming through a private entrance to get registered and lead captured and all of that stuff. Photos with a backdrop. We had different swag items, different giveaways that were happening in this one location, and it was Coca-Cola themed. So of course, we took that and ran 7,000 miles with it.
Yeah.
Um,
We had a balloon arch with like disco.
Rock and roll theme, like
Yeah.
a 50s diner type of feel on that.
Yeah. And our giveaway was we had like a little record player that we
Mhm.
gave away. What else did we give away?
It was
Like a
a bunch of different like retro games, like old time games that are new games but just styled to look old time. A membership to the museum, a big huge Coca-Cola bank that like nostalgia kind of items.
Mhm.
We also had a cotton candy machine there, so that was one of the takeaways with different 50s and 60s themes candy with a Coca-Cola can as well. So it was all very much themed to that. Our invitation was that mint color with that softer red that you see in like the 50s and 60s. Our shirts all match that theme, etc. But that was just in the landing area. Obviously, the museum kind of spoke for itself, but we took that location and it's like, man, you could have went 7,000 different ways with a museum event. Because if you have a children's museum or some type of science center or something like that, same idea. You're not shutting it down, but I would definitely choose when is a slower time and where is the central location that you can be having those conversations with your clients as they're coming in, and then maybe sending them out to enjoy the actual venue, where you might circle around every now and then, but you catch them on the way in and catch them on the way out kind of thing.
Yep.
That was, I felt like for what that was, we accomplished the goal of making the connection
Yeah.
for sure. And that was a February-ish time event. So it was a loving on our client themed event that kind of coupled with the 50s and 60s
Mhm.
as well. So that was another really great one. And we really, because we do a community event, we're going to talk our next episode about community events. We do something in the middle of that in the late spring time frame. And so rolling into that, we normally have our ice cream event is
Yeah.
usually what we do or what we have done. But super pumped. We're doing something new this year.
Yes. So we rented the one of the community swimming pools.
Yeah.
We're
Didn't
gonna
didn't even know it was a thing. Like it's
Yeah.
been a thing.
Yeah, you randomly went to a birthday party and you're like, "Did you know they rent this out private?" So, we're doing like an end of the summer bash swimming pool party.
Yeah, and
And
it's literally the Saturday before school starts.
yeah, and lifeguards are provided, right?
Yeah, but lifeguards are there. It's just open like it would be open to the public.
Mhm.
So it's staffed exactly the same, but it's shut down only for your people. So and it was again, when you're talking about doing things with the city or like with the museum, there's a nonprofit location. The cost of these things, you would think thousands of dollars. Like it was not. Very, very minimal and easily sponsored by your preferred vendors too. So for that swimming event, obviously tons of really easy themes that you could be doing with that. But we made sure to incorporate this. Like, why are we waiting until all the way to August to be inviting you to come swim? Well, it's because we figured out this was an option in June.
Yeah.
So, but simultaneously with that, we had to pivot because our parks that we were doing the pavilion and ice cream truck, our parks were now restricting our food trucks.
Yeah.
So they have to pay some type of annual dues that are ridiculous for these local businesses in the food trucks. And so we really were struggling with it. It kind of came simultaneous to say, how are we going to have this ice cream event that everyone has, rotationally come to love? How are we going to replace that with an equally cost effective way? So when you're considering all of these things, be thinking through the logistics from start to finish. Make sure that food trucks are approved. I would have loved to have the ice cream truck outside of the swimming area, like where the food, like they could grab ice cream as they leave. They could, take a break and go have ice cream. But for this particular thing run by our city, that now requires the membership with a lot of the food trucks that, if you're paying per person, you don't want it to be where they're then upcharging, a $5 thing is now 10 to offset that cost. And so that's what's happening for us. No big deal. Pivot, figure out something different. And I honestly feel like the swimming party is going to be a huge hit, huge hit. And they're in a fenced in area, forced to love on us for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, forced for us to love. They love us
It's
equally.
forced.
It's a forced love relationship. But it will be, kids under supervised activities, adults being able to swim. There's several water slides. There's a splash park that's in there, some awesome diving boards, but in a very condensed area where we'll be able to have really great conversations for those couple of hours. So themed that one out.
Yeah, one of the fall events that we're doing is a pie giveaway, which we haven't done before, and I'm super pumped about it. I told Tiffany about it, but I don't know, last year, and I was like, we should do it, but it was, of course, too late. Not enough time to prep, figure out where we're getting pies, get the word out. So we are doing it this year, but this one should be pretty seamless. I mean, I think we're gonna just do like a drive-through pie giveaway.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
for
Talking
Thanksgiving
through just
time.
like different ways and looking to see how people are doing them. Where I think we're doing like a hot cider and pie drive through. And of course that will be pumpkin spice everything will be the theme for that. It'll
Pumpkin
be a
spice and
fall explosion
yeah.
for
I mean,
sure.
you can't go wrong with that. But I think in that scenario is figuring out where you can get cost-effective pies, preferably from a local bakery, so that you can promote their business, they can promote your event. I'm all about reaching other people's social and them reaching ours. So that, and then your location. Where are you going to do it?
Yeah. So we were struggling with this, just making sure that we were picking the most ideal location and also talking with clients who have done this with their previous locations and agents, et cetera. So I think convenience has to be the main driving factor. If you're not delivering and you're expecting the pickup, is your office in an ideal location? And we are super, super blessed to be in like a hot spot in the middle of where they would be doing, their holiday shopping. It's convenient to all sides of our town. But if not, there's no reason you couldn't partner with the business you're getting the pies with. It could be in the parking lot or even just close down for pie pickup just for you. There's so many different ways that you could angle it, but I think convenience for pie pickup would be number one driving force.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing it where we're outside. Hopefully the weather is helpful in making sure that's a great idea. But where they don't even have to get out of their car. So they just roll up, pick up the pie, and we, have a conversation, across
Window.
the window. Yep. Yep. Welcome to McDonald's. How may I help you?
Yeah.
But yeah, that we're super excited to be adding that one onto us, onto it as well. We have several different community events that fall in between these here. So there's different ways our clients are connecting with us, but I think that having specific pour back mixed in with that really makes sense.
Yeah. Another one we've done is cookies and cocoa with Santa.
Yes. Nightmares.
Yeah. Well, I didn't do cookies and cocoa. ours, when I joined team, it was like the Polar Express
Mm.
theme. So I didn't get to experience the horror of whatever you guys. I just
She just hears about it. So I think that this was when we were first starting. This is our very first event ever. And so here's all the do not do's when it comes to client appreciation events. So our thing with that was we mix client appreciation with community outreach. Terrible idea. Small location. We had an explosion of people. We also did not require pre-registration. So I felt like if we were going to do a double-ended event ever again, there had to be a private hour for your clients. There had to be some type of exclusivity of not waiting in long lines, not being crammed in a space that was not accommodating the amount of turnout that we had. So that was the biggest lesson that we learned was pre-registration. And if you're going to mix community with client, which we will never do again, but if we were, and if you are, don't ever do that. But if you do, you want to make sure that you're creating that private, exclusive hour just to your clients, or two. I also think that when you're picking the location, you also need to be looking at, okay, how many people can we actually host, and then cutting off registration for that. So when we're looking at different locations, when it has to be where there is a maximum amount of people um, that can come to these, that we just shut that down at that max amount. When we did the event that we talked about, the bowling, the indoor arena, that event, we literally had only a certain amount of bowling lanes. So there
Mhm.
had to be a cutoff. They could choose to come for other parts of the event, but we had to plan for success with that. So that was what we learned. Too small of a location,
Too many
too
people.
many people, crisscrossing with client appreciation and community. It just did not work. So many lessons learned. The concept there, doing cookies and cocoa and story time, we took that and we're like, cool, let's run with that. And we moved that into a Polar Express, same kind of idea. The following year, we had the train rides in the parking lot. Santa and Mrs. Claus, they read Polar Express to the kids. There was free Santa pictures. That
Yeah.
was all themed very easily from that movie
Yeah,
as well.
it was like a pajama party.
Yep, they came in their
Mhm.
pajamas, and we did the same location. We just learned, okay, you have hours that have to be blocked out, and we might only be able to host 50 kids every hour, and if we have 500 kids, that means we're there for 10 hours. If we have 200 kids, we're there for 4 hours. So we definitely learned, okay, maybe not changing the location is ideal, but actually condensing down how many people we can have had to happen.
Yeah.
Period, for sure. So, um, talk about what we're doing now, though. Like, what did we do last year? What are we doing again this year for the Santa event? Yeah.
So we did an event last year at our local theater. We have like a historic theater in our town. So we rented that out and played Polar Express. And again, kids came in their jammies. Um, After the movie, they could take a picture with Santa, as many as they wanted.
Yeah.
It was a no cost or anything like that. We did partner with the Sunshine Kids Foundation to raise money for them as well, but that was that was an office event, so I feel like it was less planning. At least for me, it probably wasn't for you, but reserving the theater, getting the invitations out, there was a QR code where you could donate. We had a huge snack bar, so we had different types of popcorn from a local popcorn place, juice boxes, some candy, things like that that we could give out. And then the kids got a bell when they saw Santa.
Yeah, and with that too, like we are super blessed with a theater here where you might have to have concessions being paid for. They were willing to allow us to have that snack bar set out where we brought everything in for that. Santa was in the lobby for the photos for that, but then we also had in the bank parking lot across kind of catty corner the same train that we talked about before was in and running train rides next to the cocoa bar, the hot cocoa bar that our key sponsor was able to rub shoulders with our clients for.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like an indoor outdoor. Our theater was super lenient in what they were we were able to do. So it ended up being a low cost, and then that drove any of the donations for the tickets for the movie. That drove more money to the foundation that we were supporting for that. Did letters for Santa with the mailbox that the kids could do in the lobby as well. And then
They could color.
yeah, they could color those letters. And then the cool thing with doing anything with photos, because we've done this photo concept with family photos and Easter bunny photos and Santa photos over the years. The cool concept with that is you get a free photo, but that photo is delivered in the follow up. So that second to 10th touch that happens afterwards was with the follow up of delivery of the photos as well. So that needs to be part of the whole conversation. But we found when we were starting to consider doing this as a fundraising event, more people were willing to donate their time and their talent, and the sponsorship need was less, which just kind of simultaneously happened. We did not do that purposely, but Santa is committed to coming every year. So that is no cost out of pocket for Santa. So more money that is being raised can go towards the Sunshine Kids Foundation. So something to consider if you do partner with a charity that's local and important to your community. That would be one way to consider that as well. Anything else on that event that you can think of?
I don't think so. I really did like that one though.
Yeah, and it was cool because the marquee on the outside of that theater said it had our company name presenting. We got a lot of foot traffic. They came off the street thinking that was just a public event. So that was kind of turned into a little bit of a community conversation for those that just off the street bought tickets. And we were able to lead capture based off of that too. So
Mhm.
but I think that is a good mix of different events we've done over the years, different ideas. You talked about roller skating, which has been something we toyed with. We'll probably at some point do something in the inside skate rink that we have now, for sure. But make a list to get started. Make a list and see what are your opportunities that you have to support local businesses, to have partnering with the cities and towns that you're living in. What are those opportunities for you to actually host? And then work backwards from there. Because I think that when you really are looking at it, there are way more places, locations, and opportunities than you would really expect. Like we've gone all these years and then had an aha moment when the director of the museum was like, "Hi guys, we thank you so much for, spotlighting us all the time for our events that are happening." I'm like, "Why are we not hosting an event there?
Mhm.
Like, why didn't we think about that?" So take the time and kind of inventory what that looks like. I guarantee you have way more options, opportunities, ideas than you actually think. Um, and then it's going to be narrowing them down because that's the hardest thing. It's like you want to plan a party every single month, and that's not logistically possible.
Or financially.
I was to say budget possible. But while you're trying to do everything, but I think that you can really create a robust environment. A lot of the referrals that come to us, they come because they know that the benefits of being part of our team is these different things that we do with the community with them for free over the years. Yeah. That episode was jam-packed with ideas for you to be connecting with your clients through client appreciation events. I feel like that's definitely an idea overload. What was the key takeaway that you had?
I think just remembering to consistently invite them to the event. So you're inviting, a month out and then 3 weeks out, and you're continuously hitting them in different directions for the invitation because that's what's going to make you successful in actually getting them to come. Because, like Tiffany said, if you just invite her one time, she's not going to remember. So if it's not on the calendar, and you don't get that confirmation, you need to keep reaching out and say, "Hey, I'm hoping to see you Saturday. Are you coming?" And just trying to find out and invite them as many times as you can.
Well, I also think creating the environment around almost like a fear of missing out. Like you want to create the social media buzz that it's like FOMO. If you don't come, you're missing like the place to be for this particular event. So the social media traction and the actual coverage of this event is just as important as the planning. So make sure that you're setting yourself up for a plan for content creation through this as well. There's different ways to do that, all jam packed into the episode. But that was definitely two key: the invitation, setting you up for success, and then creating that buzz. So it's like moving forward. Oh gosh, we got invited to another event. We cannot miss this type of mentality, I think would really set you guys up for success.
Yeah. Any other takeaways you had?
No, I think that it just can seem super overwhelming. Like I feel like if you're like me, I'm like, I want to party with a purpose. 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, but still have to make money. And I think that you can have an idea bank that over the years that you're pulling and piecing together. And again, do not forget to partner with people that actually will pour back into these events too. If you are not a large enough team, if you're not, connected with a huge SOI to run these yourself, success does not have to be just independent in all of these.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, guys, if you found that this episode was helpful for you, make sure you give it 5 stars, share it with someone, and we will see you next time on